check out the new Meg the Stallion album because she's dropping some good news for us when she dropped this full length, really expansive, and I thought surprising album in a way. So it's interesting, right? When we talk about Meg, it's hard to really it's I think it's hard to like talk about her without addressing some of the things that have been happening in her life leading up to this, right? So uh shit with Tory Lanez, that whole saga has been absurd and ridiculous and
Mhm.
kind of just like sad in some ways, the way that's been covered and like the
Yeah,
victim blaming in a
the
lot of
initial
ways.
reaction was pretty terrible. The way people made light of it,
Yeah.
honestly. But I would say I think Megan definitely wrestled it back and put it to bed, frankly, right
Yeah.
away at the start of this album with Shots Fired. That honestly, when I heard that song started, I was like in a daze and barely heard what she said the first time because it was honestly revelatory to me to
Yeah.
hear her flip "Who Shot Ya"
Hmm.
by Biggie, and then flip the meaning of who shot you because she was the one who got shot, not Tupac, of course, right? And like to just pointedly just belittle Tory Lanez and put this whole thing to bed by making a song that's better than any song Tory Lanez has ever made. Like
Yeah.
it was fucking fire. I
Yeah.
fucking love it. It's so good.
um but she also, just to kind of finish the preface, also dropped WAP, which gained a lot of attention. Was one of the hottest songs in the country for a while. I
Number one.
think probably one of the songs that this year will be most remembered for. um, and it got her talked about in some good ways and some not so good ways if you're Ben Shapiro. So Sugar being the last album we heard, probably the last big album we heard pre-quarantine. I
Yep.
mean,
Right
it's it,
before.
it's kind of crazy that now, just 8 months later, we're getting another Meg album. And Sugar, I think we felt like it was good but not great, and we were wondering if what Meg was going to have in store next. And it seems like good news. She came very inspired, pulling from a lot of past hip hop classics to really build
Mhm.
this album up.
Yeah, it's honestly hilarious to reflect back on early March, like the before times, uh, and think about Suga because when Suga came out, remember Meg was in the midst of major label issues with 1501, her,
Mhm.
her label, and Suga was an incomplete form and was able to be released due to court injunctions and whatnot, and uh, it didn't have a good first week's sales numbers, and then I think to Megan fans that might have been concerning, but I remember you're talking about that, right? And then just fast forward, but a few weeks, and Savage becomes a major hit, taking off on TikTok.
Speaking of
Later, getting to
TikTok,
number one after the Beyonce remix comes out, and then you have WAP come out even later in the summer, another song that goes to number one. You're like, oh wait, no, now Megan is certified. Uh,
fresh, yeah,
yeah,
she's a
like
G.
the money is there all of a sudden. Like it flipped like that. She's already famous and popular as of late 2018, but like just like that, she became like instant mainstream.
Mhm.
And that was kind of interesting. So I guess it makes sense to follow up that with another full length project, and she's billing this as her debut album, even if she's been a star for some time. It's kind of a funny distinction, as we've talked about before with people like Chance the Rapper. Uh, but yeah, I think Good News, it has all the hallmarks you want from good Megan Thee Stallion records.
Yeah, it's an absolute banger of a record, man. I mean, I think this is not only a step in the right direction for Meg, but I think this really ascends and solidifies her as one of the biggest rappers in the game right now.
Without question.
And it's hard because we the easy thing to do is to compare her to Cardi, but I think for a lot of reasons, her and Cardi get thrown in the same conversations. It feels like she's ascended to potentially biggest female artist in the rap game. I don't know. She's at least up there, which is, I
It,
think,
it's her and Cardi right now. I think in terms of currency, they're both ahead of Nicki Minaj. Yeah.
for sure. So it just feels like this does so much for her, which is such a great thing. And maybe we should talk about the things it does and how it helped her up here. So as you mentioned, flipping "Who Shot You." Yeah, it's the first song on the album, totally eviscerating Tory Lanez. What a way to start. Then, I mean, what other songs, what other moments really grab you on this album?
So when we think of like what is Megan Thee Stallion's hallmarks, I think part of that's right away is what she does technically. From the jump with shots fired, this shit is straight flow. She has just impeccable flow the whole time, and that the best parts of Sugar, those first four tracks, was it Ain't Equal, Savage, Bitch, um, that was all good flow, right? It was when she wanted to sing a little bit and change it up later on in the EP that were like, wait a minute, this is not nearly as good.
Mhm.
She basically throws that all away on Good News, with the exception, I think, Don't Rock Me to Sleep at the end, which I also think is a bit forgettable because she's trying to do like weird singing stuff. For the most part, it's all flow.
Yeah.
And she's just so good at it that like it always sounds good. And then you combine that with, I think, some great wordplay throughout the track list.
Mhm.
Like on what's new? Beat that pussy red, Sue Woo. Uh, on Sugar Baby, invest in this pussy boy, support black business. On Shots Fired, I told him you're not popping, you're just on the remix. That's a reference to Tory Lanez being on the Jack Harlow "What's Popping" remix. And my favorite one on fuck, I forgot what song this was on. Pussy like a wild fox looking for a Sasuke. That's a Naruto reference. Like the wordplay is awesome the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, flow. I mean, not only the way that she like mimics flows throughout this, but she just sounds so effortless and like
Hmm.
just totally in command the whole record, which is really
Yeah,
impressive. You
she
know,
never gets uh, you know beaten by any of her guests. The guests all, for the most part, fit in with her, but it's always a Meg song.
yeah, and you know, you think about like what probably one of my favorite moments near the end, which is "Girls in the Hood,"
Hmm.
taking "Boys in the Hood" from NWA and just totally taking Easy E's flow on that so seamlessly, and
Yeah,
it just sounds so fucking good. It's insane.
right. And the thing about "Girls in the Hood," which had come out a few months ago, "Boys in the Hood," a classic rap song, but notably quite misogynistic, like a lot of
Mhm,
NWA stuff. "Girls in the Hood's" flipping that once again because it's Meg being
yep,
in control as a confident woman.
mhm,
Once again, like Shots Fired, flipping it around. And I think that's kind of been, I think, the overwhelming, takeaway with her lyrics ever since probably last year with the Fever mixtape is that Megan, yes, she's raunchy about sex. She likes
mhm.
rapping about sex. That's clear. Many a banger already out of that. But it's not just because she wants to be vulgar. It's because she is confident, and it's like about her independence, right? And like honestly, it's a really, I think it's a really revelatory like feminist point of view, right? And that's what makes WAP so great. It is the confidence, is the carefree nature that is all of that, right? And like even like City Girls, they kind of do the same stuff from time to
Mhm.
time as well. So Megan at this point, when putting to bed the Tory Lane stuff and just dropping a banger album that does all the things you want Megan Thee Stallion to do at this point, I think it just really as you said before, solidifies her as just a force to be reckoned with. And I really do not expect it to change anytime soon because she's sticking to what she's good at, and what she's good at lasts because again, it's flow, it is wordplay.
Yeah, I agree. I think her being unabashedly pro feminist, pro pretty much everything, like women's bodies, women's rights, those sorts of things, is a perfect way to kind of describe how she's taking control of her brand and what her music means. And it's really funny because as you were talking, I was like, well, you know, Dave, some people might not really like that. And I was like, then I was just thinking about the people who don't. And it's like,
Don't listen to it then.
fuck those people, man. Like they're just such losers. Um,
You made the comment about a Ben
Ben
Shapiro
Shapiro. I was about to do a bit. I was about to like do an impersonation, but I held back.
he went viral for deadpanning the WAP lyrics, obviously. But
Macaroni in a pot, boy.
well, I was just thinking, you remember he had some comments about Harry Styles and what Harry Styles was wearing on a photo shoot recently. And I was just thinking, this is not secular, obviously, but Harry Styles in a dress still makes Ben Shapiro's wife wetter than what we know Ben's wife gets for him, as he told
Uh,
us during the WAP reading.
Well, Dave. Actually, my wife's a doctor, and it's actually not good for a woman to get wet during sex. So I'm actually very concerned
Mm.
about these two women.
You're gonna tell me that? All right, let's just say you're right, and
Yeah.
getting wet is what you want. Like, right? Okay. Oh God, that guy sucks.
Oh man, it's Well, we should probably move away from this, but what any of the features that you really liked, anything that
Sure.
stood out to you?
Yeah, I think. Well, so the Savage remix been out for a while.
Of
And
course.
it's a really good remix.
Yeah.
A good remix, uh, traditional remix, not like a DJ remix. A good remix, kind of uncommon. Doesn't happen all that often. A lot of times, you just kind of throw shit together to boost the streams. It's not really that intentional of like a remix to redo the song. But
Hmm.
Beyonce, I think, really brings a lot to this. There's a bit of harmonization, notable quotables from Beyonce. It's a good remix. I also would say that SZA makes a good impression on Freaky Girls. Always love to hear SZA feature because we don't get them all that often. And I was surprised to like the movie as much as I did with Little Dirk. Little Dirk's hook uh, is pretty simple, pretty repetitive, but for some reason I just find it incredibly catchy. And I think that's really the beat that does it for me.
Hmm.
Um, Crybaby with the Baby, uh, not nearly as memorable for me as a Cash Shit last year between the two of them, but I think for the most part the guests are pretty good.
Yeah, the only one I really wanted to shout out, I do think they all are pretty solid. Was SZA? Just nice to hear SZA on a track,
Absolutely.
and the song sounds very much like a SZA song, but not totally like she took it over, which is cool. Yeah, I'm waiting for that follow up album to come out. Is I guess really what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Um, any last thoughts on good news before we close the book on it for this week?
Uh, yeah, man. I mean, I think the only times I was not really into it, like I said before, "Don't Rock Me to Sleep," and even "Outside" a little bit as well. Those two tracks at the end, it's just a different energy that you can tell from this and Sugar that it's something Meg is interested in exploring. But and I'm not trying to cut her off from that. Obviously, Cardi B was able to really branch out with something like "I Like It" by changing
Mhm.
up the sound. It's not to say that. I think Meg should just keep working at it to figure out how she wants to diversify a little bit. But even if she never diversifies, what she does right now is more than enough.
I guess the last thing I just want to say, shout out to Popcan. I feel like he
Absolutely.
fell off the map, so kind of nice to hear from him.
He actually had a well liked project come out this year.
And we didn't
Uh,
talk about it.
it's we did not talk about it. It's called the Fix Tape. It came out back in August, and people that are in the know on Popcan said it might have been his best, but we did not talk about that one. So he's
Well,
not off the map totally. Just you got to pay attention, Pat.
he's off my radar. I guess I'll